The build-up to the 88 200 metres freestyle was just full of intensity. We had the world record holder in the 200 metres freestyle for that race, Michael Gross, 6'8", 147.44 was his world record. Came in pretty hot favourite, but up against him was Matt Biondi, the great American, shooting for 7 Olympic gold medals in Seoul. He started out with the 200 metres freestyle. He started from lane 5. I was ranked 48th in the world. We had world record holders everywhere, but I was 48th in the world and Australian, so those blokes didn't stand a chance.
Take your marks.
Well, I started out of lane 6. Right next to me is Matt Biondi, the fastest man in the world, 6'7". He was going to push a lot of water forward. So we knew that my strategy had to be get on the lane rope, get in the trough of water that Matt Biondi was pushing forward for the first 2 laps. And if I was able to drag off Matt for the first 2 laps, I wouldn't need him for lap number 3 or lap number 4. And that's exactly what happened. I knew I was in 3rd place going into the 3rd turn, and I came off, did the turn of my life. Didn't need Matt anymore. Set my sights for the wall, for the home, for the gold, put my head down with 12 metres to swim, had about 10 strokes to the wall, didn't know where anybody was, came in and touched with my right hand, quickly had a quick look over to my left, and the water is still smooth. No one's arrived. My hand's on the wall, I turn around, everything goes into slow motion. I'm living my dreams. I've dreamt about it since I was about 6 years old, and finally it's happening. The world record, WR beside your name, D Armstrong, Australia, WR, and then this number 1 just flashing. And everyone's 2, 3 and 4.
Duncan Armstrong, Australia!
When you win the Olympic gold medal, sometimes the moment is just too much for you, and it was too much for me. And they call your name, you get up, and there's the flag down the end of the pool. It still gets me emotional. You know, the Advanced Australia Fair starts going out along the pool, and you're really trying hard not to weep, just pure tears of joy. And you're just having this incredible moment, and the medal feels so heavy around your neck, and you're really living your dreams all in one hit. And it's easily the proudest moment I've had as an Australian.
Nine's broadcast of the London 2012 Olympic Games.
How good was that? Who wants to see it again? It was awesome. Now, it's wonderful to be here. I've got 3 young kids, so I don't usually come to the groovy 6 p.m. service. I usually come along to the 8:15 or the 10 o'clock, so it's awesome to be in the house of God on a Sunday night with such good-looking people. Yeah, how good was that worship? It was so good. So it's great to be here. Thank you very much to C3 for inviting me up here. I love speaking at church because I get to speak about myself. Over and over and over again. And you get to partner in with that beautiful story about myself, my most important topic, with the Lord and what He's done in my life. So it's a great privilege, and I'm very humbled to be able to speak to you tonight about my life story and be here at C3. So thank you very much. Also, thank you very much to Pastor John and Danielle for not being here, not occupying the stage, so I can have a go. I'm sure they're having a fantastic holiday and a big break, because they've got a lot of preaching ahead of them in the months to come, coming up to Easter and everywhere around. So it's just great to be on stage with you tonight. And I guess I want to start with my story, because my story started a long time ago. Thanks, guys. All good? Yep. Long time ago in a beautiful tropical and exotic place called Rockhampton. Who's from Rocky? Anybody from Rocky here? Anyone going to admit it? Just you and me, brother. Just you and me. We'll hug it out later. But Rockhampton is one of those amazing sporting towns where everything just revolves around sport. And my journey towards that moment started in the library in year 2 at Allenstown State School, at Dawson Road, when we all got taken down to the library to see a 16-year-old Australian named Steve Holland go in the 1976 Montreal Olympic Games in the 1500 metres freestyle. He was 16 years of age. He'd broken the world record 16 times in that year. He'd taken it down a minute from the time he was 15 to 16. From 1704 to 1604, he raced the best in the world and he got a bronze medal. It was so exciting. The whole school was in front of this black and white TV. I didn't know what the Olympic Games was, but Norman May was commentating. And it was such an exciting event, and there was so much excitement in the room that I made a promise to myself that day. I didn't know what the Olympic Games was, but I was going to get Norman May to talk about me just like that somehow. And that's where the dream started. That's where it started. And by the time I was 14, I built myself up to be the under 14 Central Queensland 200 freestyle champion. I could stop my speech there, couldn't I? It was just huge, okay? And so my dad could see that I was really on the way. My dad could see that I was really putting in the work. My dad could see I had some potential. So he got a transfer in the bank. We moved the 800 kilometres from Rockhampton to Brisbane. My two brothers, my two sisters, taken out of high school, followed my swimming dream to Brisbane. Dad bought a house 7 minutes drive from the swimming pool. So I could train with the most brutal, strongest, toughest, and most winningest coach Australia had ever produced. You can put that photograph up, Michael. This guy here, Laurie Lawrence. Okay, and Laurie had the most brutal squad in the country. He was tough, he was hard, and he produced champions. He knew what it was like to produce a champion to go to the Olympic Games, because the race I picked, okay, which is the hardest race on the program, forget the rest, the hardest, the best looking, the toughest, the most stylish, the 200 metres freestyle. I'd pick the 200 metres freestyle, and the 200 metres freestyle takes less than 2 minutes. It takes 1 minute and 47 seconds, right? If you're good enough. And that day rolls around one day every 4 years. So this is the exam. This is the equation that I had dreams about from I was 6 years old. That I was going to swim 1 minute and 47 seconds on one day at the Olympic Games and beat the best to win the gold. That was the vision. That was the dream. And so Laurie was the guy to take me there, okay? So I moved, the whole family moved for my swimming. There was no pressure on me from an early age to do well. It was good. And I walked into the pool, and it was 3:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, okay? And I walked into the pool, and Laurie's squad was set up like an advanced squad. It was all about vision. So no matter who you were, when you started in the Laurie Lawrence swim team, you started in lane 0 with the babies. And with hard work and dedication and improvement, you moved up to lead lane 0. Then you got advanced to the bottom of lane 1. And with hard work, improvement, and hard work, you got to the top of lane 1. And that's how you advanced, because the promised land in the Laurie Lawrence swim team was lane 5. To get in lane 5, you had to wear the green and gold for Australia. You had to go to the Olympics, World Championships, Commonwealth Games, Pan Pacs. No one was allowed in that lane unless you had that green and gold colour on, okay? And so wherever you were in the pool, your vision was on lane 5, okay? And we'd do 200 laps in the morning of a 50-metre pool, 10K, and then we'd go to school for a really good sleep, big nap, and then we'd come back in the afternoon, 3:30, and we'd do another 200 laps. We're doing 20 Ks a day. That's what you had to do. Now, as the under 14 Central Queensland 200 freestyle champion, thank you very much, I thought Laurie should know me. So I walk in on Tuesday afternoon, it's 3:30, and there's Laurie standing at the end of the pool like a general. And there's all the lanes going up and down, and the green and gold, he's doing all the work. And I thought, this is it. This is so good. I was peaking. And so I've walked in and I've stood over, here's Laurie, and I've stood over here just like near the drum kit. And I've sort of stood there, and he's thought he's going to turn around, he's going to welcome me in, we're lucky to have you, get into lane 5, mate, that's where you belong. And he just looked at me and brushed me, gave me nothing. And he's looked at me again, he's left me standing there again. I was there about 10 minutes, and he's finally turned around and walked over to me. And he's looked at me and got right up close and went, "What do you want?" And I said, "My name is Duncan Armstrong, I want you to coach me." And he got right up in my face and he goes, "Are you hungry, son? Are you hungry?" He even spat on me. And I said, "I'm sweet, mate. I've had lunch. I'm ready to go." He said, "You might be just dumb enough to win something." And that was the start of a 9-year relationship with Laurie in the water, and I've had 35 years of therapy because of it. But Laurie really understood what we needed to know, how we need to go about it. He really taught me how to be strong, how to be tough. The programming to be a great swimmer started that day, that Tuesday afternoon. That's where it started. And in swimming, it taught me how to train really hard, how to be disciplined, how to be a time manager, how to control my diet, how to control my behaviours, how to control my friends, and how to be really, really selfish to climb to the top of world swimming. And it took me 3 years to get into the Australian team. And I made it with that photograph. That was the team I made, the Edinburgh Commonwealth Games, the 13th Commonwealth Games in Edinburgh in 1986 as a 17-year-old. I'd been with him for 3 years, and I'd made my first team. And it was a big team. All my heroes were on that team. I was the youngest. I was one of 5 rookies. I'd never been to an international meet before. I didn't know what was going on. But I got there and I was on day one of competition in the 400 metres freestyle. And I spent my best time by about 3 seconds to make lane 4. There wasn't any big stars in it. I had a really big chance, okay? And you stand there in this tunnel and everything you've heard about, the stories on the radio, television, newspapers, is happening. You're standing in this dark tunnel and out there in about 30 metres is the competition pool. It's lit up lighter than day. All the lights are on. 13,000 people have shown up for the competition. This is your moment. You've got the green and gold on the back. You're doing your yoga breathing exercises to make sure your adrenaline doesn't snap on you. And I'm going, I'm just zen. But everything's happening. And your coach comes up to you and he's wearing that Scottish cap. He's got face paint on and a kilt. And he looks at you and he goes, "Are you nervous?" And I go, No, I'm sweet. I'm in my bubble. I'm good. I'm just breathing. He goes, "How can't you be nervous, mate? There's 13,000 people here." I said, No, I am within. I am fine. He goes, "No worries, mate. You keep breathing. You keep breathing. I'm going to help you. I'm going to get all these people on your side." And off down the other end of the pool he rolls. Just as you run off, I'm watching him go. The guy on the PA says, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the pool deck, the men of the 400 metres freestyle final of the 13th Commonwealth Games." And out into the light you walk. By the time you hit the pool deck and you come into the light, out of the dark tunnel, you're just one big goosebump. You can't even feel the tracksuit on your back. You got the green and gold on and it's not touching you. You're on fire, right? You're doing your breathing. And so I walk out, and as I'm getting around the end of the pool, heading towards lane 4, this screeching starts up the other end of the pool, 50 metres away, in front of this crowd. And it goes like this: "Let the animal out of the cage. Look out for lane 4. He's hungry for blood. He's an animal. He'll rip your ears off and drink your blood." And on and on and on until I arrive behind lane 4 and 13,000 people now look at me. And I'm sitting there going, how is this helping? And they're doing the lane assignments. In lane 1, there's some poor Kiwi, and in lane 2, a confused Canadian. And so anyway, there's these B grade swimmers, and they're coming along, and this is your moment, all right? You're going to be on TV. You're 18, 17 years of age. You've got a new colour in your hair. You're looking rapturously great, okay? And you know you're going to be on TV, right? So you're getting ready. You've rehearsed this moment. You bring your adrenaline up. You're going to be in the water in about 3 minutes. It's go time. You know, you've trained for 3.5 years to be in this team. You're wearing the green and gold. It's all happening. And Laurie scoots up behind me in the green skirt, and he yells at me, "I got him on your side. I've got him on your side. Now, when they call your name, son, stuff the silver. You're here for the gold." Right? Gold. And when he said gold, that was the end of my breathing routine. I was on. Okay? And just as they come to go down in lane 4, the fastest qualifier for the 400 freestyle tonight from Brisbane, Australia, Duncan, Armstrong. And I jump up and go, whoosh. And then sat down. I thought it went well. I look around at Laurie and he's got eyes this big and he goes, "You better win now, you moron." And the good news is I did. Yeah. That's the very good news. And I've never done that again. Ever. So this is what swimming really got me into. This is the environment that I really wanted. I wanted to go away and win gold medals. I wanted all of these sort of things, and I was willing to learn from anybody who would teach me how to be more selfish, how to be more driven, how to be more goal-orientated, and what behaviours drove that. I just wanted it all. I was addicted to more. And this is what Laurie taught me. I'm going to show you how Laurie experienced that race I showed you the first time, okay? So this is the environment that I was in. So this is Laurie Lawrence at the 1988 Olympic Games on the sideline watching the race you watched before. Enjoy. Michael?
And this time they're away. Now have a look at the streamlining off the wall. A great start from Biondi. He's the one 4 up from the bottom of your screen. Now Biondi is the world record holder in the 100. He will go out fast, and he is doing just that.
Duncan Armstrong around in third with 25.46.
Holmertz is going for it. I mean, he would be leading in Anders Holmertz from Sweden will go over with Matt Biondi. Over in third spot is Duncan Armstrong. Then across to Michael Gross. Biondy. Now, bear in mind, Armstrong had the fastest last lap in the heats yesterday, and this is looking enormous. Oh, I can't stand it. 30 metres out. Armstrong has hit the lead. Biondy is gone. It's back over to Holman. He can't hang on. Armstrong, Australia. Look at this here, gold medal. Oh my God. Holman and Duncan. Come on. Come on.
And what a fantastic swim. The smartest swim I think I've ever seen anyone swim in the Olympics.
Mate, we just beat 3 world record holders. How do you think I feel? How do you think I feel?
Duncan Armstrong, world record time, 147.25.
Where's the animal? Where's the animal?
For his world record performance in the 200 metres freestyle. The hero of Australia.
Oh, glory. How much fun is that? I played that 3 times today. I love it. I love it. But this is the environment we wanted to create. This is the fun that we wanted to have. This is the Olympics that we wanted to go and take part in. We wanted it all. And so at the age of 20, when I came home from the Olympic Games, you know, my life had profoundly changed. You know, and I wanted more of all of it. So from there, life couldn't get any better. I was the Olympic champion. I was the world record holder. I was a sponsored athlete. I was making commercials. I was being invited to VIP stuff for the first time. I was on magazine covers. I was in the newspaper. Everything I did was interesting. A television career was just starting, and on radio as well. And it was everything that I wanted, and I wanted to be more. But I've been programmed as an Olympic athlete that more is always better. And so I charged into all these careers, and then the drugs arrived, and then the alcohol arrived. And then the fast women arrived, and the fast living arrived, and the fast this arrived. And whatever I could do, I could grab my hands on and wanted more and more and more. And I was starting to build a career around that. I got married at the age of 21. I had 2 boys before the age of 23, and then we got divorced. Okay, so I was just full throttle fatherhood. Okay, trying to work out who I was at the age of 21 and 22 with all this expectation. But I wanted more. Like when I was on drugs, I wanted as much drugs as I could possibly take. When I was drinking, and I was going to be a world champion at it. And so I was building up all these behaviours in all these areas that were no good for me whatsoever. But my programming around what I'd learned in the pool and being a winner just wouldn't let me get off the bus. And I thought I was winning, and I thought I was the man, and I thought everything in my life was exactly the way it should be for a superstar athlete. And the whole time inside, I was lonely, I was confused, I was broken, and I was just starting to repeat myself. And so by the time I hit 35, we sang a worship song in the last 2 services this morning, and there was a line in it, very convicting line, thank you, Lord, about how I was in those days, running around trying to be as much on television as I could, as much in the VIP room as I could, as much in the newspapers as at the right parties as I could. And in the line it was I think it was something like, "Are you sick of being yourself?" And I was thoroughly, by the time I was 35, thoroughly sick of being myself because I was so broken in that space. But everywhere you looked at my career, I was being successful. Everything they said about my image was spot on. Everything they said in the newspapers of who I was, apparently, was this great bloke. But inside I was absolutely empty. I'd been at war with my ex-wife for 10 long years. I'd met this beautiful girl who loved me, and all my mates was going, "Mate, do yourself a favour and marry her." And I'm like, had to go on marriage, it's not for me. I was so clever, and this girl's beside me, and she's a champion person. And so we were together about 6 or 7 years, doing life, living in Sydney, running around, doing our thing, and she couldn't take it anymore, so she left me. She mad? She left me. Went back to Brisbane. I spent 8 months on my own, chased her back to Brisbane, and she introduced me to this guy. His name's Ian, okay? And my idea of mateship at this point was so toxic because I was still in competition and programmed for it. So I'd meet a guy, really good guy, great bloke, and I'd make sure he'd have just a bit more than me. His boat was a bit bigger, house was a bit bigger, smoking hot girlfriend, a little bit more money, a little bit fame and fortune, right? And he was my target. We became mates. And then I'd work at him for about 6 to 12 months until I had everything better than him, and I'd drop him. Awful, isn't it? How toxic is that? And I'd bounce to the next target. So I came back to Brisbane. I didn't know my girl was going to church at that stage, but she introduced me to this big fella named Ian. He used to be a cage fighter. We called him Biggie, okay? Big dude. Big personality. Had a big boat, had a big car, had a big house, had a fantastic job, had a great business. He was my perfect storm of a mate. And so, yeah, that suited me fine. We settled right into it, okay? Tried to get in front of Biggie for about 6 to 8 months. He's just laughing at me on the inside. I'm going around and around and around and around. He had this calmness about him. He had this strength about him, okay, that I did not understand. And I've looked at him one day and go, mate, what is this about? I can't seem to get in front of you. After he stopped laughing, he said, mate, you need to come to church. And I've gone, church? You must be a lunatic. He goes, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Come to church. Okay? So I laughed, I mocked at it. But he took me to church. My girl had already been going because girls are very, 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 very smarter than guys. Okay? My girl's already going to church. And so we walked into church. It was a happy clapper church like C3 here at Kawana. Yeah, had a great band. Not as good as this one. Had a karaoke board. It was great. Happy clappers. And I walked in, I hid over to the side, over on the right-hand side, not saying anything to you guys hiding, but that's okay. But I hid over here, and I completely mocked it. Went hard, reviled it, ridiculed it, because I was so stuck in my control. I was so stuck in my control shell. Nothing on the inside, all bluster and bravado on the outside. That was me, sitting over here, having a go at everybody, getting into it, right? Feeling awful, mocking it. But I had to come back next week, and next week, and next week. And about 6 weeks in, I'm sitting over here, and my girl is like getting right into it. I'm sitting over here, and this presence comes upon me. You can put that up, please, Michael. This presence comes upon me, right? It's something I've never felt before, ever. And it was love, his love. I'd never permitted love. Love wasn't part of the control mechanism, wasn't part of what I needed in my life, wasn't part of it. My idea of love was awful. You know, manipulation, using, getting ahead, being in competition, moving ahead, dropping. That was my love. And so this thing's upon me, and I can't stop. And my heart's beating like crazy. And then I start crying, okay? And Becky and I had been together 8 years, and she'd never seen me cry at that point, because crying wasn't part of the whole deal, you know what I'm saying? So here I am, and I'm not a weeper. I'm a blubberer. There's snot, and there's, you know, and it looks like I'm throwing up when I cry. I'm like, whoop, you know. So I'm having like an absolute great time over here on the right. And my girls look at me and go, what is going on? I'm like, I don't know. But it was this, God is love. And I ran smack bang into the Holy Spirit that day, okay? And I could not stand it. I ran out of that church with my hair on fire. Couldn't stand it. Came back the next time, he's into me again. And I'm standing there and I'm shaking and I'm blubbering, I'm spitting on the person in front of me. Not a good scene. Not a good scene. And it really confronted me because I'd built my whole life around this image that I thought was me, on who I thought the world thought I was. And I bought into that whole thing of who the world thought I was. And so here I am, and he's just taking me apart, taking me apart, taking me apart. And I realise it's him, and he's loving me. And I can't stop. And then I fell in love with the next one, mate. I am the way, please, Michael. And then I fell in love with this because this really goes to my control. I could look at it and go, right, he's the way, right, I'll set a goal on that, you know. He's the truth, yeah, I got that, yeah, I got the truth, it's all good. And I was trying to get him back into the box. And when I'm reading this sort of scripture, misunderstanding it completely, but using it for myself and my own control mechanisms, I started reading all about the atheists. You know, the atheists who've read in a book and said, God's not a God, Jesus isn't God, he's just a man. And so I'm reading all this clever stuff and I'm really getting on the ball. I'm like, this is great. And then someone gave me, a very smart bloke, gave me a little book, tiny little book, great for blokes, named More Than a Carpenter by Josh McDowell. Josh McDowell was an atheist in America, was travelling across America doing all these lectures and got tapped on the shoulder by God. And God pulled him completely apart and turned him into a great Christian man. And he wrote this little book, and in it is all stats And I was a statistic background with my swimming. And so it just crushed me and put me back together again. And, you know, Alan LeMay came to our church. I can't remember what date or what time, but Alan LeMay from Toowoomba came down and he did the call to the cross and he said, is there anybody here who hasn't given their life to God and wants to? That's all he said. And it was like a lightning bolt hit Becky and I, and we got out to the front so fast there was like a rip through the carpet. And it scared Alan. He's gone, ugh! And we got saved that day. And we gave our life to Jesus that day. We did. We did. You put that next photo up, thanks. And this is the miracles of my life now. Because that day I gave my heart to Jesus. Okay? That day I was saved by Jesus. I was reborn that day. But I've taken 14 or 15 years to give my heart to him. Is anybody feeling the same thing? That you get saved and then the torture begins to release your heart and let him into every single part of it, because it's not easy. You know, you think you're going to be in this peaceful ride. I've been saved, hallelujah. But it's not like that, is it? And so for 14 years, I've been trying to release my heart, get rid of the blocks, and he wants to flood me. He wants to get all these control mechanisms, just knock them out and fill my heart up with him. That's what he wants. And I'd love him to as well. But it's just going to take time to get rid of the program, and I've got to give myself that grace. But when I look at that photograph, thanks, that family photograph again, thanks mate. Here's my beautiful wife, Rebecca. When we got saved, we were married within 9 months. Okay, we stopped stuffing around. And we got married, so I stopped stuffing around. We got married, and there's Ava, Noah, and little Isaac, my beautiful family. And this is what comes out of giving your heart to God. That he wants to get in and renovate your heart. He wants to get in and get rid of the nonsense, the drugs, the alcohol, the bad behaviour, the wanting the world to love me for what I project, but not who I am. Okay, they want to know where I am and all that kind of, that's the world. But Jesus just wants you to know how much he loves you. And I used to sit around dreaming about the Olympic Games. You know, you heard a little bit about it tonight. And I'd plot and I'd plan and I'd have this vision. And it's so small compared to God's vision for me now. You know, my life, when I look at it now, it's challenging. It's provocative. It's exciting. It's humbling. You know, to come to here to C3, to speak 3 times today has been a humbling experience for me. You know, to share my story with you guys and have so many people come up to me today and share theirs and open that door and see what a massive family we are for people who follow Jesus and how much support we have and how we build these amazing churches like C3, where we hear fantastic stories like Tyler's, Steve's this morning, where Jesus just comes in and ruins everything you were doing and puts you back together again in his purpose. And then his purpose and his drive and his vision colours your life in a different way. It stops you from being down. It stops you from being confused. It doesn't stop challenging you. Okay, it's not always peaceful. But that's what the rigour of the Spirit wants us to be in. He knows how he's made us. So if you, I don't know your particular story here, but if you're here tonight, okay, and whatever's brought you here tonight, whether I've brought you here tonight, my reputation, you know, whether you're a young swimmer over here like this young bloke over here from Grammar or wherever you are, whatever has brought you to here tonight, I'm so glad you're here because this C3 community is a winner and it will help you with the answers that you're seeking and everything you need to know about Jesus and God, okay? And if you're like me and you know you're not living your best life, like I've outlined, the life that you've been created to live, then you need Jesus, plain and simple. Jesus will never let you down. In this whole 14-year journey, I've let myself down, tons. And Jesus, like a wonderful parent, is just, you know when your kids throw that tantrum and they just like wig out, they have that meltdown, and you know it's just their age or their sugar content or whatever it is, and they just lose it. They're just a big puddle of anger. And you just stand there and you just wait because you know they're going to take a breath cert. You know what I mean? And you just sit there, and then bang, they snap out of it, and you gather them up, and you hold them, and then they relax in your arms, and then that's when you realise they know that it's going to be okay. Okay, we are all like that. I throw tantrums 3 or 4 times a week. Okay? And Jesus, my Father, just stands there and goes, are you done? Are you finished? Can we get back on track? Because I've got a lot going for you and you don't want to miss it. Do you understand what I mean? And if I can pivot towards him more than my programming from back in the day, if I can pivot towards him more and more and more, great things happen over and over again. I'll tell you about a challenge in my life at the moment. I lost my job this week. I've been made redundant for the first time in my life. I know, right? Me. Like, how good am I? Are these people crazy? In the old days, all the toys would have gone out of the pram. In the old days, I would have... But all I did was went, oh, it's disappointing. I've got a lot of work on at the moment that I wanted to finish. And then I pivoted towards Jesus. And I said, Lord, if you're giving me this problem, the promise you're about to give me must be massive. Because that's where the pivot comes from. Put that last slide up, please, Michael. I want you to leave with this one, because this is really important, like weeks like this. But my spirit is now corded around Jesus Christ. It's a steel cable. So when things happen in the world, like a redundancy or whatever's happening, okay, I pivot towards him and my core remains strong. Read this out with me. Here we go. Casting all your cares, all your anxieties, all your worries and all your concerns once and for all on him. For he cares about you with deepest affection and watches over you very carefully. Now, what's the most important word in that scripture? I'll tell you. It's the word very. When we watch our children very, very, very carefully, how much attention, how much intent is in that? And that's how our Father watches us. He watches us very, very intently in everything we do. And so I'm going to ask Benny. Is it Benny? Yep. Come on. Because I want to invite you to give your heart to Jesus just like I did. Okay? I want you to be born again if you're not. I want you to take this opportunity of being at C3 tonight and starting your journey with him as a Jesus follower. Whatever that might mean to you. And I want you to be the example to your family and through the generations, especially your children, that it's only through him that we live and live our greatest life. Thank you. Thanks, mate.
Thank you so much.